Jerry Rocha, good to see you, man.
Great to see you, man. Look at this. Look at this. Years in the making, Ron, and here we are.
It's been
Here
a
it is.
while. Well, dude,
Too
I
long.
still it really has. I mean that's the case with almost everyone these days, right?
That's
Like
true.
it's
Yeah,
just
that's
so.
true.
I mean, I still remember when I first met you. Like I think it was John Fugelsang's show, wasn't it?
I
Or a
believe
show
so.
like that.
It
And
was
and I
yes.
remember
Hmm.
I remember you had the set of the night. You definitely
Oh, come
had.
on. That never
No, you
happens.
definitely did.
Stop it. That's never
That for
happened.
sure
That's
happened.
Thank you. That's nice, but man, I wow. That's
No,
very
you had the
kind to
set of the
say.
night, and you were such a nice guy, and just kind of like you were kind of like the life of the party comic, like in a really cool
Thanks.
way. And I
Hey.
remember, I mean, it really sticks out to me because I think if I'm remembering correctly, it was before I actually lived in LA.
Yes, you were moving here. I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember I tried to put you in touch with the guy who booked one nighters in Orange County, but he was kind of a maniac. So I don't know if that worked out or not. But hopefully you got some gig or two out of it. But
You
yeah,
know,
like that was it was, I
I
remember
remember
that
what
too.
happened with that actually.
Oh no.
He hit me up. So I reached out to him. I dropped your
Yeah.
name, like you said, and he said, "Okay, cool." And then he hit me up about a spot, but it was literally like the show started in an hour and a half,
Yes, that's yep. I
and I
should
was
have
like,
warned you. I that's the
"Yeah,
one. Yeah, that's the one rub with that guy. Is like he'll call you with it starts in 8 minutes, buddy. Can you be an hour and a half
yeah."
from your apartment? Like, yeah, I'm on my way. Like,
And I just said to him, I said, "Dude, I thank you so much for the gig offer,
sure.
but I'm literally in studio right now working, and I would physically not be able to get there in time. Could we
Yeah,
get something on the books so I can plan?" And he
yeah.
goes, "No, this is how I book."
Oh boy,
And
that's
I go,
yeah,
"That sounds really stressful, bro." I was like, "Well,
that's
hey,
too
hit me up,
much.
next time
Right,
you have a gig in 40
right.
minutes, hit me up, and if by chance I can make it, I will. Otherwise, I guess not." Like, I don't
Right. It's very odd. So I'm sorry for that. Let me just get that out of the way. Let me give you. I think I owe you a massive
No, not at
apology.
all, dude. Not at
Still,
all.
that is that was
Never
bad.
never
Bad
apologize for trying
friend.
to. No, dude. I never apologize for trying to help somebody get a gig. That's definitely. But so let's get into it, man. I saw one of your
Yeah.
stand-up clips recently, and
Okay.
it was one of the. I feel like this is such a thing special to our business. It was one of those stand-up clips that also gave me some very unwanted news. And
Oh yeah.
within a 40-second clip, I had both reactions. Shit, Jerry has cancer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
damn, that's a fucking funny joke.
Thank you. Thank
Because it
you.
was a
That's
very good joke.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
but
Thanks.
yeah, I was just like, wow.
It
So when did you find out? Let's talk
okay.
about just
So
just what's going on with you.
So this is, if you don't mind, this is also kind of. I hate to do this. I'm not trying to use you, Ron. I promise. But this might end up being a plug for what will hopefully be a stand-up hour,
That's
all
awesome.
about
No,
this
that's
that
awesome.
I'm working on. My friend Christella Alonso, great comedian. We started together back in Texas, and we've been really good friends our entire careers. And she gave me the title, and I'm like, oh my god, it's cancer culture is what we're
Yeah,
gonna
perfect.
call it. And, yeah, and
Perfect.
so it began. I want to say pre about right before COVID hit. Okay, so it was right before the pandemic, and I had this. God, I apologize to you and your listeners for the too much information, but I do think it's important that everybody, especially people our age, run because it's sadly kind of more and more. It's hitting people at a younger age than it ever has. And so what happened to me was dude, I was driving around and it hit me. I was like, oh God, I'm going to shit my pants. And I hadn't ever had that feeling. I was like, would I get food poisoning? I'm like, what is happening? And I make it to I was running errands. I made it to a public bathroom. I run in and I'm expecting like Dumb and Dumber. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Mhm.
just sitting down in the toilet, like, oh, this is going to be brutal. And all that happened was a little bit of blood came out. And I was like, huh? And I panicked and I go, I'm on WebMD and it's like, is this probably IBS or hemorrhoids? And so I just like, whoa, okay, good. You know, because if you hear good news, you don't want to get a second opinion when something says you're okay. And then it just kept happening. And my girlfriend, who's now my fiance, she was like, just go to your general practitioner just to be safe, you know? And so my general practitioner, did all kinds of tests on me. And then she sits me down. It gets very sober. And she says, this is probably IBS or hemorrhoids. And I'm like, okay, great. If a doctor, then this is awesome. I'm good. And then, yeah, I told you it happened that one time, and then occasionally it would happen. So, Ron, this started maybe 2.5, 3 years before the pandemic. And
Mhm.
then now at this point, when it was happening like 6 to 7 times a day, where
Oh,
I
wow.
would have this urge, and stupid me, I'm like, boy, these hemorrhoids are crazy, huh?
Oh,
Just
jeez.
oblivious. Like, and my fiance Andrea was like, please go try to schedule a colonoscopy.
And just to be
And
clear, because there is no
yeah,
such thing as TMI on this show. Uh,
okay,
it
great,
was
great.
it was it was just blood coming out,
Just
or
blood,
was
just
it
a little bit of blood, a
so
little bit of
no
blood.
stool? Okay.
No
All right.
stool, just a little bit of bright red blood. And I was like, what? And then everything I'd seen online was like, oh, you only have to worry if it's dark blood. If it's bright blood, then it's IBS or hemorrhoids, or severe if it's happening a lot. And I was like, well, I guess it's what it is. And so but she just kept insisting, and I was like, all right, fine. So I go get a colonoscopy, and that's when the gastroenterologist was like, I don't even need to biopsy this, but we'll biopsy it just to be. This is cancer. Like, this is 100%. There was a massive tumor in my rectum, and it was so big that they scheduled a CAT scan like 2 days later, and sure enough, it had spread. So it was stage 4, and it was one in my rectum, and there was 12 on my liver, 12 tumors on my liver, and so it's 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 impossible to describe just what you think. You know what I mean? Like, what you're feeling when you're being told that. I mean, it was such a gut punch to be said, "Hey, this is cancer," and then 2 days later to find out that it's stage 4, and the odds on that are obviously not good. And so it was a frightening time. But it was, I think, what helped was I was so confused by everything and almost not thinking it was real that I didn't allow myself to just fall into this, oh, I'm going to die, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, I just was like, okay, I guess we're just going to have to fight this. And yeah, and then we just started like, yeah, so that was the beginning. Is how that's how it that was like how I found out I had cancer. It was just this constant issue that a doctor looked at me and said, this is nothing, it's IBS or hemorrhoids, that's it. And looking back, my GP 1,000% should have scheduled a colonoscopy for me given my symptoms, like
Yeah.
everything that was happening, but it just didn't. It was, yeah, so it was crazy.
So what has been like what has kind of transpired since, like what's kind of been the game plan? Because I know stage 4 is definitely not the diagnosis you want,
Right,
but
right.
stage 4 in a younger person doesn't necessarily mean hopeless.
Does it mean yes? So it was it was it was so I had about 2 months after the diagnosis, and then chemo started, and it was and before chemo, my partner and she and I decided, let's try to live as healthy as possible, right? So we started slowly changing my diet, where I was just, and I always tried to stay in shape, but I never really connected the dots with it probably wouldn't hurt to not eat like shit either, like, and that definitely doesn't help, and especially with colorectal cancer, and so I started eating a little healthier, not as much as I should have, and then chemo begins, and that was 55 hours straight. It was a blitz. It was 55 hours of chemo in the hospital. Then I'd have like a week and a half off, and then back in. I did that 4 times, and then it was a nightmare because at the end, so I had 4 cycles of chemotherapy, and the last one, I guess the hospital had just gotten this. It's not new technology. It's been around maybe 10 or 11 years, but they had just gotten it in their hospital. It was like a little pouch that administers the chemo, and you could just take it home. And so for the last one, I was just at home, and pardon me, it was crazy because Andrea, she works from home.
Mhm.
Her job is remote. She does HR, and I slept in an airbed in our living room because the little take it home pouch, it just does this every 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, well, this
Yeah.
will wake, or so I'll just deal with this. And so I'm getting that's all going in, and then I woke up. I had maybe like 7 hours left of the whole thing, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and my neck hurt, and there was like a little bump on my neck, and I was like, oh man. And so they gave me a PICC line to administer all the chemo. So to those who don't know, that's like a fishing wire that they stick into your vein, and it helps. You have these little wires sticking out of your body, and you have to clean them every day, and then they hook those up to an IV machine, and that's where you get whatever chemotherapy, antibiotics, whatever needs to be administered. That's how they do it, to just get everything. And so I had a PICC line in, and those are really weird because I had to be wide awake, Ron, when they put it in. And so they started with this arm, and they couldn't find anything. It was like 30
Oh,
minutes. They're just digging
quite a
around.
good pain.
Right. So then they go to this arm, and they're digging around, and I actually heard what I think the one thing you don't want to hear during any kind of procedure. The guy was putting it in, and he just went, "Oh shit." And I'm
Oh, no.
like, what do you mean, oh shit? And he goes, oh, it's snapped in half, man. We got to get you upstairs. I was like, oh God. So they had to take me there, suck it out, put a new one in. And then so I had this PICC line. And at the end of it, I woke up, my neck was hurting, and I had like a little bump on my neck. And I fell back asleep. I woke up, normal time, and I couldn't move. Like my neck, it just felt like it was in a vice. And I'm like, what is going on? And the little bump had now become like the size of my fist.
Oh, God.
And I'd look at Andrea. She woke up. She's freaking out, and I'm like, I know my own body. I'm like, let me just take a nap. I'll be fine. And she's like, you idiot, get in the
That's all
car.
it takes.
Yeah. So
Whenever you got a big growth on your neck, you just sleep it off. I know this.
Just sleep it off. And it turns out that this was a blood clot. We get to the ER, and the PICC line had gotten infected. Lucky me. So it was. Yeah. So the first step was chemo, then chemo was radiation, and actually, before I take that back. Before radiation, they had to take care of the liver, and so I got very lucky, Ron, because all the tumors were on the side of the liver that they could surgically remove. Had they been
Nice.
had they been on the other side, good luck.
By the way,
that would have
I
been
feel
it.
weird saying nice to that, but,
No.
but I feel like in the context, I really like right after it came out, I was just like, that was a weird. Like I
weird.
found out the tumors, and I'm like, oh yeah, dude. But I think
yeah.
given the context and
Let's
the
fucking
circumstance,
go. Yeah, right. Yeah.
all on one side. We're going in, motherfucker.
We got this shit. And yeah, so this is crazy. But after chemo, they had to do what they call a portal vein embolization. And that's another thing I had to be wide awake for. I didn't know this about the liver, but when you breathe, your liver just flaps around. And so they needed to seal off the bad side of the liver, so after surgery, the good side could grow more. So they had to cut off like 90% of the blood flow to the bad part of my liver. And it was called a portal vein embolization, and you have to be awake for it so you can control your breathing. And so they just kind of give you a little bit to numb the pain, but it doesn't really work. And I'm just lying on a table. They said it would be like 3 hours. It ended up being like 5.5. And they're
And
just
you could
digging.
feel it.
Oh, you feel it. They're just digging in, and it's like, all right. So you're just in excruciating pain. It's like, all right, we need you to hold your breath. And I'm like, and it was just going on. And so that was about a 5-hour thing. Then they performed the liver surgery, which was fantastic. They got rid of it, and then it was radiation. And Is this too boring? I'm already worried that I'm putting everyone to sleep
No,
with
no,
all
no.
this.
Keep
Like
going. Keep going.
so then that goes, then it's radiation. And now that the liver tumors are gone, let's focus on the mothership, right? So the big one, the Agent Zero. So we go after the rectal tumor with radiation. And I started radiation on a Thursday, and this is all within the bottom half of the year that they discovered it, right? So believe it was 2022 when they started attacking it. It was summer of 2022, and then so now we're like at fall of 2022. The liver surgery was successful. Now it's radiation for the rectal surgery for the rectal tumor. And man, it was so I started on a Thursday. On
Now
Saturday,
you were
Andre and
totally
I.
numbed out for like the main surgeries, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, it
you
was
were out.
13 hours. 13 hours
All
for
right.
the liver resect, and then yeah, and that is the
'Cause I'll be
weirdest.
honest, man.
Like,
I'm still processing that you could
right.
feel some of the other
Oh,
things.
dude,
Like
it was
that's just what
crazy. And
I didn't know
thankfully, it was
that was possible in 2024. I thought that was a thing we've like we're further than that now.
right, right. It was like for half a second when they were doing the portal vein. I'm like, am I in Deadwood? Like, why do I have to be awake for this? What is this? Yeah, am I having surgery in 1840? Like, why is this
That
like?
dude, like that's where my mind went too. I was waiting for you to be like, and then they got the leeches, and I'm like, holy shit, I thought this wasn't the way
Yeah,
we did things anymore.
you just give me a little bit of whiskey and bite down on this pile of wood. You know, like, yeah, that was the like it was just crazy. Like it was, and then so luckily I was out for the others, but like
Yeah, yeah.
the liver surgery was 13 hour, and I'd never been under like that, and it was so crazy because like they I don't know how they did it, but they're just talking, they're shooting the shit. The orderlies, the nurses, the doctors were all in the surgery room, and it's like 5 a.m. We're just shooting the shit. They're hey, just talking me through everything. I've already signed the "this could kill you" waivers, right? Like you might not live through this, and then and I'm kind of obviously nervous about that. And then the guy's like, "Here, lean forward just a little bit," and so I'm on the bed, and I just kind of lean forward on the surgery table, and we're just talking, and I feel like they were so good. I just felt like this weird pinch, and then it was over. And he goes, "Okay, you're good now." I was like, "What was that?" And they'd injected like a needle like that big in my back to help administer the pain meds after the surgery. They were so good though. I barely feel like they were. It was amazing. And then they lie me down, and the guy's like, "Okay." He puts a little thing over me, and he was like, "All right, man. Well, we'll see you in 13 hours. Have a great night." And then boom, I'm just out. And then I come to 13 hours later, surgery was a success. And then I started the radiation, and that was on a Thursday. And Andre and I are going to visit her parents in Orange County. We lived up in the valley. And Saturday. So Saturday morning, I'm a little bloated. I eat a little bit of breakfast, and I don't feel great. And we're driving, and we're like an exit away from Andrea's parents, and I start to vomit. So luckily, we're able to pull over. I go to a gas station, puke up all my breakfast. We get to her parents. I'm feeling terrible. And it's now like I can't hold down Gatorade, crackers. I'm throwing up everything. And I'm just getting more bloated. And Sunday morning, I looked 9 months pregnant. And Andre was like, "Come on, get in the car." And we make it to our ER. It was about, our hospital was in Sylmar. Her parents live south of Irvine. And to those not in Southern California, that's a long drive with traffic. And Andrea got us there in like 45 minutes, just zipping. And, it was crazy. And so we get to the ER, and I found out, and they told me that sometimes radiation can inflame the tumor. And that's what happened. And it had caused an obstruction. And so they said you were about maybe an hour away from your colon bursting, which could have killed you instantly. And I was
Oh
like,
my
"Oh,
god.
fuck." So they did an emergency procedure. I had to get a temporary ostomy bag placed on me. It was crazy. And so the duration of radiation and up until the removal of the rectal tumor, I had an ostomy. I had an ostomy bag for about 9 months, and it was crazy. And so then the rectal tumor was a success, And then the next step was reversing the ostomy, which happened in early 20. Oh man, I think that was early. I'm sorry. I think it was all. It's been such a whirlwind. I'm sorry. So 2021 is when all the chemo and all that happened. So
Mhm.
2022 is when they reversed the ostomy, right?
Yeah.
And that was early 2022. And then that's right. And then so end of like end of summer 2022, I go in for scans just to see how everything's doing, right? And I get a very it was scary. So I'm driving around running some errands and I get a call from the hospital and they're like, "Hey, your scan results came in. We'd like to see you in person." And I'm like, whew. And so we go in and my oncologist says there's 3 spots on your lung. And they said normally with colorectal cancer, it spreads to the liver first and usually then one of the lungs, if not both of the lungs. So we found 3 spots on your left lung. We'd like to biopsy them. And they did the biopsy, and one of them was just big enough to be biopsied. So they biopsy it, and we get the call, it's cancer. And they were like, and she was very, that was the hardest day because she said it's terminal. Like this is, and the plan was just chemo for the rest of my life. Like that's it. They just thought we're just going to hit it. You're just going to be on chemo indefinitely for the rest of your life. And so Andre and I were like, well, I don't know if we want to do this. Like and we did the first thing for the first time. We said, well, let's get a second opinion. Let's just see. And so we went to City of Hope, this great hospital in Duarte. That's all cancer. It's all they do, just cancer and diabetes because they're very linked. And so we go to City of Hope. Their oncologist looks at me and she just I don't see this as terminal. Like I think we can fight this. And we're just this breath of fresh air. Like, oh, okay, we're in. And then my insurance blocked it. They were like, we can't allow you to
Oh
go
my
there.
God.
Yeah, they said because we don't think you're going to get the same kind of care. No, we think you're going to get. We don't think you're going to get any different. The care's not going to be any different. And I was like, it sounded pretty different, like from you're going
Shit.
to die to
Yeah.
we can fight
Terminal
this.
to not terminal. Think there's a
Yeah,
little bit of a
it's,
difference.
it's a,
Feel like
it's a
there's some breathing room
bit of
there.
yeah.
Jesus.
And so, and that was tough. So we just acquiesced to chemo again, and this was now my third chemo because after the rectal surgery, I had to do what they call adjuvant chemo. It's like let's just hope this keeps it at bay. And that was the first time like chemo sucked when I got the 55-hour, it was awful, but it was bearable. This adjuvant chemo was the first time it had become unbearable. So like when I was on the 55-hour chemo, you could time it. I would barf on the second day of the 55 hours, and then I would just feel a little shitty, but I'd be fine. With the adjuvant chemo, I was puking all the time, and I started getting neuropathy. Where like if I held a room temperature glass of water, one time I dropped it because it felt like I was being stabbed. It was that cold feeling, and I couldn't drink anything that wasn't like hot because it would feel like my throat, like I had just severe strep throat. Like it was, and they were like, yeah, that could be a permanent side effect. And I was like, oh fuck,
Oh
so
God.
luckily I did that adjuvant chemo and it was over and the neuropathy went away, thankfully. I got very lucky. But now it was more chemo and this is chemo forever. And so December of 2022 we started this chemo. And because it was in September when they did the biopsy and realized that it's still cancer. So and then we tried to get the second opinion through October, November. We in November we thought we were going to go to City of Hope, and then it got blocked. So in December we started the chemo, and it was a first 4 cycles, and I would go into the hospital and get the infusion, and then go home, and it started to kill me, Ron. Like I was literally 30 pounds bloated. And my hands were turning gray, like I was rubbing charcoal together. And I remember my oncologist was like, well, that the gray hands could be a permanent side effect, and I think what everyone was thinking and what she didn't say was, but hey, permanent might not be that long for you, buddy. Like that was, I think that was the unspoken point. Here's the good news, is permanent, maybe a year. And so after the fourth cycle, I told Andrea, I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't care how much time, if I have 5 years, 5 days, I don't want to go out like this, because regrettably, in my case, it seemed like the chemo just kind of stopped working because this was something that was very alarming. But during that third round of chemo at the end that we started in December of 2022, it shrank the remaining lung tumors because the one they biopsied never came back. But the other two shrunk a little, which was good. But then another one grew rapidly in my liver when I started chemo. Another tumor that we didn't even know was there just popped up and grew really fat. It was almost like it was being fed. It was like chemo resistant. And so that's when we decided, I said, I'm not going to do chemo anymore. It's not helping at this point. And so that's when Andrea was like, well, full on, you're going to commit to, you're not going to eat like shit. Like ever, you can have a donut like once every 8 months. You know what I mean? Like a donut, and you're going to eat as healthy as possible. Let's get you a gym membership. You're going to just you're going to get in the best shape you've ever been. Let's just keep this up. If you're not going to fight it traditionally, then we're going to have to do, let's try to be as healthy as possible at the very least. And that was our plan. And we started it. And then we got a phone call in like February of 2023. And it was from City of Hope. And it was a patient advocate. And he said, hey, I saw, that you were rejected a few months ago. And he goes, if there's any chance you and Andrea would be willing to move to Orange County, your insurance will work with our hospital that we have in Irvine. And it was the only time I was ever excited about going to Orange County. Like
I was waiting for a joke, and I was like, and we thought about it for a good 5 minutes, but passed.
And then we said, no, thanks.
We're like, we'll pass. Traffic's bad enough in the valley. And,
right. Yeah. I don't want to be around a state that didn't really have anything to do with the Civil War, yet there's Confederate flags down here. Like, I'm good. Like,
listen, buddy, I grew up in Texas. I left for a reason, but thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm coming back. Like, what is it?
Please add me to the do not call list.
I was like, oh, but Andrea broke our lease instantly. We found an apartment in Orange County. That's where I'm at now. Ron, I hate to say this, it ain't half bad. I can't believe I'm saying this right now.
It has its pockets.
It has its moments.
We joke around about it, but it has its pockets, and it's very pretty.
Moments. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And this hospital is great. And so,
but wait, before you continue, let me ask one question.
Of course.
Why did that make a difference? Why did going to Orange County make a difference?
I have no idea. It was something.
I mean, our health insurance system is F to the gills, and
it's
like
so bad.
Why? That's just so weird.
It's so, and it because like, okay, so I have, because I'm a immensely successol comedian. I instantly qualified for the covered California medical insurance, because I'm just rolling in the dough from this comedy money. So I was very fortunate that I qualified for, I guess, the California version of the Affordable Care Act, right? And for whatever reason, up in that county in the valley, they looked at it and said no, but the Orange County version of the covered California, they work with City of Hope. It's just like, yeah, sure. Okay. And so it was, and it in the middle, and it was a lot of bullshit, but it was kind of, I can't believe I'm saying this, it was kind of easy. It took like 2 trips to a local office to get everything sorted out and worked out. And Ron, this is where it just becomes, it's just like, it gets more absurd, but we're all set to go. We're here now. We're living in Orange County. I just switched over my insurance so I can be eligible to go to City of Hope. And then that's when the old hospital calls me. And they're like, "Hey, you're a candidate, that liver tumor. You're a candidate to have it ablated." And I was like, "What's an ablation? Is that chemo? Is that right?" He goes, "No, no, no. We just go in with such extreme targeted heat that it just fries the tumor dead."
Oh,
And
wow. I've heard of
and
that. I never heard that
and
term, though.
and they're
That's interesting.
and they're thinking it's like the future, right? And that would be incredible if that's what it could. You know what I mean? If it
Oh,
because
yeah. If
you
you can
go
just fry the fuck out of those things, and then you're
and
good.
and
Yeah.
and I was like, "Well, how long am I going to be in the hospital?" And the guy was like, "You leave 2 hours after the procedure." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then I said, "Well, here's the bad news." I said, "I just moved to Orange County and I'm no longer in network." And they were like, "Oh no." And then the doctor was such, they were so great. He goes, "Look, just keep it on the books. I'm putting it on the books. Do not change it. No matter what you're told, keep this on the books." And he gave me a number to a woman in their finance department. He goes, "Just call her now and explain everything." And so I did, and she was amazing. And she was like talking me through. She goes, "Well, we're going to see what happens because I don't know if this is going to work or not." And so it was just, "No, never mind. We're not going to be able to do it." And then he called me and he goes, "Hey, I heard they got the no. I'm keeping it on the books. Just keep fighting this." I'm like, "Okay." And the woman just she called me like once a week and she's like, "Hey, I'm just trying to update you. We're still doing everything we can." And then she called me. It was literally the week the surgery was scheduled on a Wednesday, the ablation. It was Monday. She called me and she goes, "Look," she goes, "I need to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay, okay." She goes, um, "I was able to convince the staff here that since this procedure could save your life, and since you've gotten care with us for 3 years, this is on the house." They agreed to do it. They agreed to just, and she goes, what helped push it is they're really trying to push this ablation. So they want as many success stories as possible, and so that's another reason we're like, "Let's go." And so we drove up, they burned it off. We come back and then we start care at City of Hope, and they hit the two spots on the lung with radiation. That was in September of 2023. And then in November of 2023, I went in to get scanned to see how everything was looking. And in February, this past February, I was driving back from a gig, and the radiation oncologist called me from City of Hope, and he goes, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know," this is why I'm so fortunate to be at this hospital and to be with this care, because he said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that we found some spots on your last scan." And I was mortified. I was like, and then he said, he goes, "We scanned you in November." He goes, "I'm calling you now to tell you about it." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "The reason is I didn't want to worry you over the holidays." He said, "Because I'm not worried." He goes, "I think we're just going to zap these things and get rid of them. We're fine." And it was like, what a relief you know what I mean? Like, just to
Yeah.
hear that positivity, that kind of attitude of like, "I didn't want to have you because basically this ain't shit," is what he said. And
Mhm.
so literally last Thursday, March 28th, I rang the bell and I got my last blasts of radiation. And as of right now, there's no cancer they can see in my body. Doesn't mean that there's not still some there, but it's just, and now it's just this. But Ron, I'm going to be looking at this like I'm fighting it the rest of my life. Even if I even if I make that 5 year mark and you're quote unquote in remission, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm going to be so nervous because I'm going to get scanned in July and to see, and this leading up to, I'm like, "Oh God, oh God," but I'm just gonna, like, I have to believe I'm in good hands, and I also need to just take care of myself and just continue, doing, just fighting this. And they're so great there because, he was, my main oncologist there was like, "I would recommend chemo after the radiation that you just did." and he wants me like a chemo routine. And he goes, but I know it stopped working for you. At least he acknowledged that. You know what I mean? And he was like, so let's try to find if there's, now they just added an integrative oncologist there to City of Hope. And they're like, let's see, this guy might have, he'll take your blood and see if there's some kind of nutritional thing that can help you, keep this at bay or maybe get rid of it. And at least they always said the most positive thing, which is, and there's also a good chance that what we zapped and what we got rid of was the last trace of cancer in your body. So this could be it. And so it's been a motherfucker of a roller coaster for since 2021 up until now. And yeah, it's just been but you're caught up. At least you got the.
That's an incredible story. I mean, that's
thanks,
incredible.
Thank you. There's been a lot, and it's been just and I've learned to. I know it sounds weird, but I've learned to like appreciate everything in life more than I ever had. Like just everything. It's just because I think I'm just now realizing how close I came to not being here. Had I not listened to Andrea, I wouldn't have made it. You know what I mean? Like, just because who knows how close to the cancer just succumbing, just taking over everything I was before I got looked at and before I got the colonoscopy.
Well, it's a good thing you're marrying this girl. That sounds like the right move.
She's the I still don't know. To be honest, I'm not sure she's the one, but we'll see. No, Thought
I'd roll the dice, all the hospital drives,
I mean, she's definitely earned some brownie points. No, she's incredible. Like, she definitely has been my lifesaver, and it's and I talk about it in the hour I'm doing about this whole journey and
oh, dude, everything you just said, like, that is such an hour show.
Oh, thanks.
Like,
I promise I try to make it funny.
No, dude. I mean, well, certainly, but even just the story itself, like just in listening to you talk. I mean, I experience anger, I experience sadness, I experience hope and joy, all within like just the 10 minutes you were telling that story. I mean, wow, man.
It was something else, and again, I say this in my hour. I wish. It would be so great if I was the last person on earth who had to deal with this, but I know I'm far from that. And it just, what helps is to have that support system. It helps more than anything, because I'm not a believer. Like, I'm an atheist. And there have been some weird things that I've experienced during this process that is kind of like, well, is that a coincidence? That's,
yeah. Like what?
It was okay. I talk about this, but I really wish that the worst day of my life was when I found out I had stage 4 cancer, but it wasn't. It was about a year and a half before that. It was on February 4th. I found out my mother died out of the blue, just heart attack, completely unexpected. And it was just the two of us most of my life. She kind of raised me on her own. She had her boyfriend, David, who was like my father. He was the best, but he passed away when I was in my late 20s. And it's always been Mom and I, and it was rough. Like, that was, and then the night I found out it was stage 4, and again, I'm not religious, but I had a dream, but see, the thing is, I'm also Mexican. So, like, Mexicans, even an atheist Mexican will believe a ghost story. Like, that's just how we are. It's just look, I mean, I swear, Ron, I swear I'm an atheist, but I you could sell me on a ghost story. I'd be like, oh, no shit, it's
well,
so
and Day of the Dead festivities are just so infectious.
Oh, exactly.
And it's just such an amazing time. That's like, whatever you guys are believing, I'm on board with it. This is awesome.
Dude, there's not one house in my family's from South Texas, Laredo. And my great grandma's house, my grandparents' house, my aunt Olga's house, every single one of them has a ghost story. It's hilarious. Like, they're just convinced, but I had this dream the night it happened. The night we found out it was stage 4. I had a dream where I was in Nuevo Laredo, which is the Mexico side. And I remember my family would always go to this market, the mercado, this marketplace. When I was a little kid, I loved going. It was so much fun. I would buy like the bootleg WWF and Transformers. They were like, they looked just like the American ones, but they were like $5 cheaper. You know what I mean? I would like, and so I loved going. And in this dream, I'm in that marketplace, but there's nothing but corpses. I'm just in an alleyway and there's dead bodies everywhere. And I just succumb. I just go, okay, I guess I'm going to die. I guess cancer's going to kill me, and I just need to accept it. And as I'm sinking into the ground to become one with all these dead bodies, a hand grabs me, and I looked up, and there's my mom. Wow. And she said, don't look at any of this. Look at me. She goes, I'm going to get you out of here. And we walked for like hours. And at the end of the dream, we're in this beautiful field. There's no death. I turn to thank her. She's gone. And then I instantly wake up. And I just wake up with just tears streaming down my face. But it helped inspire me to not want to give up. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. And so I don't know if that was just my subconscious just going like, here, we got to find something that'll convince this idiot to be positive, whether it was, again, to the religious people, it could be my mother has come back to give me a sign, whatever, but whatever it was, it sure as shit helped me feel like, no, I want to beat this. Not that I didn't, but it just reinforced, like, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to keep fighting this. I don't want to give up no matter what the news is. And that dream, quite frankly, it really helped when the oncologist said it's terminal. It helped me go, no, you know what I mean? Like in my head, I'm like, I don't want to believe that. Like I want to, and here's, I hate to get, I don't know if it's political, but I noticed something. I just noticed
You're on my show,
something.
my friend.
All right. Thank you. I noticed something very, very telling when we acquiesced to chemo, that third cycle, right? December 2022. I noticed something because this wasn't 55 hours. It was like a 3-hour infusion. And so I'd just go to the hospital. I wouldn't go upstairs to any of like the rooms. This was just like a ward area. And it was just the chemo infusion ward. And you walk in and there's just 40 people all getting chemo infusions. And the one thing that we all had in common, I guess there's 3 things, I'll put it this way, we all had in common. We all had cancer. We were all told that the only thing left was chemo, and that's it. And we were all dirt fucking poor. And I really wonder, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, yes, I know rich people die of cancer every day. But I just wonder if it would have been nice, because why couldn't I have gotten the City of Hope care? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From this place. If they said the care was exactly the same, then why couldn't this, and they did wonderful things at that hospital, but they also were just like, nope, it's chemo forever and that's it. And I was just fortunate enough that I tried to get a second opinion, and that City of Hope called me and said, well, if you move to Orange County, and I was, fortunate enough that Andre and I were like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. It kind of helped that she grew up down here. Her parents live like a mile away from us. So, that helped, but it's still like, I know how lucky I am that not everybody has the support system that I have. And, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm still here, but it does bum me out that, the city hospital is, for all the great things that they do, and they do a lot, that there's also just like a little bit of a, no, this is by the book. And this is what the book tells us, and this is it. And there's no deviating from this. Because even when they found out that the chemo was feeding, or not feeding, but that the liver tumor was resistant to chemo, they were still pushing chemo. Like, well, you still got to do it. And look, well, why? Like, it's not working. And I want to try, and this is going to be very dramatic, and I apologize, but I don't know that I would have lived had I just kept doing that chemo regimen they wanted me to do for the rest of my life. Just chemo.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that because I was getting bloated. I was horribly depressed. The neuropathy they said could come back. It was just a laundry list of awful shit.
I don't think that's dramatic at all. I mean, I think like the just objective truth here is that, like, had one turn went differently, you might
Yeah.
not be here right now. And
Right.
that and
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
thank goodness you are. And wow,
Well,
man.
thank you, man. Yeah. It's
Wow.
so it's been
Like,
and I don't know, but it I think that like it just sucks that like I don't buy I don't buy the naysayers about how like if it was just universal free healthcare, I don't see how that would impact anybody negatively. You know what I mean? Like
no,
I
right.
don't
Well,
see how
it works all over the world.
it does. And then
It
but
works
what's
all over the world.
yeah, it's like,
Like,
all they have is well, God, in Canada, you have to wait in the ER forever. Who doesn't? What do you like? I mean, that's your one complaint is there's lines. Who gives a shit? That okay? So they save your life, but you have to wait a day in line. Who gives a fuck?
yeah,
Okay,
and also a lot of those like statistics that they point to be
right,
like naysayers about universal
right,
health care, it's
right.
all like it's all misrepresented because it's like, no, but you're pointing to things that aren't an emergency. Like when it's somebody like
Right,
someone has cancer
right,
and they might die,
right.
you get bumped up to the front.
And
You know?
I am the, and I'll tell you, I am the. Okay, let me just bring some. I'll throw myself under the bus for some levity here for this, Ron. Here's just how you know that was the one benefit to having stage 4 cancer is I was the belle of the ball at the ER. Like I was like it was like a hot chick walking into a nightclub. They're like, "Oh no, you ain't gotta wait. Come on, right on it." Like, and I remember one time during chemo, I started getting heavy nosebleeds, and I was like, "Oh
Oh
no,
wow.
is this a side effect of chemotherapy?" And and God, this is I'm gonna tell the story. So here's how I got the nosebleed, Ron. I was it was 2 a.m. Andre was dead asleep, and I just had a raging heart on. And so I go to take care of myself in the bathroom, and once I'm done jerking off, right as it happened, boom, just blood started pouring. And I'm trying not to tell
Oh.
Andrea. She's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I don't know." Like I was just here, about to take a piss, and then like we go to the ER, and they rush me in because this guy's got cancer, and the doctor's looking at me. He's like, "Well, no, chemo doesn't really cause nosebleeds." And he goes, and he's like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't just had to use the bathroom."
Oh, this is
And,
awesome.
and he goes, "No, no,
Did
no."
you
He
do
goes,
any strenuous activity? Define
he said
strenuous.
that's exactly what he said. He goes,
Yes.
"Did you do anything strenuous?" And I'm like, "Maybe." He's like, well, "What do you mean? What's strenuous?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, look, Harry Bush MILF porn, I don't think is stressful. I don't think Harry Bush MILF porn is stressful, but the end result," and the doctor starts laughing, and he goes, "Yeah," he goes, "that wouldn't cause a nosebleed either." And he just paused, and this is more embarrassing than getting busted for masturbating. Is he looked in my nose and he goes, "Do you pick your nose?" It's like,
Oh no.
yeah, I do. He's like, "Okay, here's what happened." He goes, "This was a perfect storm. You were picking your nose over and over, which led to the irritation. Then when you came, that led to, and it just shot it all out." And so I had to go to the ER for masturbating and picking my nose. I hope I'm the
That's
first.
awesome.
Yes, I hope I'm the first guy ever who that's happened to. But I mean, again, but to your point, if it's thought to be life threatening, you don't wait. You're brought right in, and to to a more serious. When it was the blood clot, they rushed me right in. They saw me. And they're like, "Oh, no, this guy's not waiting." You know what I mean? Like, let's get him a bed right now. When I came in with the obstruction, they saw a dude who was 9 months pregnant, bloated. They instantly, were like, and the ERs were packed. It was a city hospital. The ERs were packed. But when it is that life, they don't fuck around. They don't make you wait. So yes, that argument of like, "Oh, you have to wait forever," it's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah. And
It's
that's how it is
absolute
all around the
bullshit.
world. Yeah. Um,
Absolutely. And taxes pay for so many other things that nobody complains about. So why not healthcare too? You know what I mean? Like I don't like it's so anyway. But yeah, that my soapbox is but
no, I
from
feel you, man.
experience, but I at
Yeah.
least have an actual story. Like I can tell
Right.
you why it saved my life
Yeah.
being in a place where I have affordable health care, like
Yeah.
where
Well,
I
and
was
the system
fortunate.
could have killed you. Even
They,
to,
they
it's
tried.
like they
Yeah.
tried to, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there were a couple things that fell into place where they were able to
Yep.
work it out, and also, yeah, I mean, with as messed up as the U.S. healthcare system is, if you're in
Yeah.
California, you're a lot luckier than most
Oh yeah. I
because
realize that. It's
comparatively
like
speaking, it's a lot better, but it's
if
still, I
I
mean,
Ron, I can't imagine a situation I'd be in if I still lived in Texas. Do you know what I mean? Like if I still lived in Texas, I have no idea. It probably would have turned
there'd
into.
be a handful of prayers for you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Ted Cruz on his way to Cancun would be like, "Oh, good luck, buddy," and then just gone. Like I honestly would have had to have gone to Laredo and then seen if I could have gone somewhere in Mexico. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, well, shit, can I do this? Because that's another truth that and it's very minor, but you know, about this is far before any Affordable Care Act even existed. But I've had so many relatives who anything minor, they would just go to the hospital in Mexico. They,
yeah.
anything that they,
I've
well, let me
gotten
just go
some
there.
dental stuff in Mexico before.
Yeah,
So is
they
my
my
wife.
all
Yeah,
that's my family that their dentist was in Mexico, their optometrist was in Mexico. Like it was absolutely. So I mean, yeah, it's just but I tell you, there is something, and again, this is an atheist talking about it, but there is something to. I think a belief system helps. It doesn't have to be in a deity. You just have to believe you're going to be okay,
yeah,
and I think and just having people around you that tell you, like when I was told it was cancer, when the colonoscopy results came back, I was with my fiance and I was with my friend, this great comedian Eddie Pence, and we knew it was going to happen. Like it was the day we were going to get the phone call about the biopsy. So Eddie and Andrea did what anyone would do to cheer up. At that point, what a 44-year-old, they take him, the 43-year-old, they take him to go shopping for video games and action figures, and
there you go.
it was great. And we got the call. And Andrea grabbed my hand and she started crying. But she said, "Hey, we're going to fight this." She just said, "Don't think it's over. We're going to fight this." And then Eddie just turned to me and he said, "Well, guess what? Now you can say you beat cancer. How cool is that going to be?" And it's just little things like that. It's immeasurable, when in terms of helping somebody cope with what they're going through, helping someone, is just knowing that that your closest people have your back. No one did the, "Oh no, cancer. Oh, nobody survives that." No, I didn't get any of that. It was just all, "You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. We're here for you." And man, I think that from a non-believer, I think that helps, quote unquote, miracles happen. Is just when it's so paramount to have a support system. And then, but again, like you said, like again, it would just, as lucky as we are here in California, it still could be a little better, because no patient advocate should have had to have reached out and seen, "Oh, wait a minute, this guy got rejected," and thankfully he did. I'm so grateful for that guy, because I guess that's part of his job, and good for him that he saw that I'd gotten rejected and just called me out of the blue to offer up this Orange County lifeline.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
So how is this this whole thing that I get you are still going through? How has
Yeah.
this changed your priorities just in life?
Um, I don't. The biggest thing that I've noticed, and this is just, I obviously I'm just so much more appreciative of everything. I really mean it. I really just I appreciate so much more than I ever did. It's funny, but like my fiance, we rarely argue anymore. Like I don't let anything bother me like it used to. Dumb things, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'll tell you another thing. I don't get upset when my team loses a game anymore. Like I used to be the dumbest sports fan, and I'm like, who gives a shit? I beat cancer. I could give a fuck about what a basketball did. Like I'm fine. Like it's okay. But yeah, I really. And one thing I've kind of, it's helped me. Like I've always been like a nerd, but well, not like a smart nerd. I mean, a nerd is in like a, action figures, comic books, video games, like a
Culture nerd.
nerd. Yeah,
Yeah.
culture nerd, a dork nerd. Like I've always been a culture nerd, and it, I, I just love it more than I ever have. Like, and I think that that's something that helped me was like in my off time. And this sounds so weird, but I'm working on how I can write this out and turn this into something too. But during the process, and this is how dumb I am. Like this is what Andrea's mother told me, and it really helped because I'm so stupid, Ron. It helped connect the dots for me. Her mom said, just look at this as another video game you have to beat, cancer, and that helped me. Like, okay, yeah, I could do that. Like, and what was weird was during this time, like I learned to appreciate the things like I always have, but more than ever, I learned to appreciate the things I loved when I was a kid. Like when we were our happiest for the most part. You know what I mean? Like before life starts grinding. So now it's like, and then it happened where I was like, well, it was in between the liver surgery and the colon surgery. I was like, you know what? I want to do something I've never been able to do before to kind of help inspire me to do something that is very insurmountable statistically. And I pulled out the second Legend of Zelda game for the original Nintendo system, which I could never beat as a kid. It frustrated me. I gave up on it, and I spent a week like, fuck this, I'm beating this game. And it was like, it inspired. It was like, yeah. And I think that was the biggest change I've noticed is that I'm so much happier than I've ever been. Like it's weird. Like I just am. I hope I wasn't always like a miserable person, but like I think now that
You
I've
definitely
learned.
weren't in all of
Well,
my
thank
encounters
you,
with
thanks,
you.
man.
I can't
I just
imagine anyone describing you that way. No,
well, thank
like
you.
you were always
Well,
like
thank
I
you.
feel like personally, like as far as my experience goes, you're still the exact same guy.
Oh well,
You just
good. Yeah,
so
I think now, I think internally, I guess I just am
sure.
happier. It just I don't care if someone cuts me off in traffic. You know what I mean? Like it's just little things where you're like, why do I give a shit? I beat cancer. I give a fuck about a guy who let him cut me off. Who cares? It's all those little things that and I think hopefully people can maybe not get bothered by that even if they're in perfect health. It's just
Yeah.
not care about dumb shit. I've learned to not let dumb
Because
things
that's how
bother
you
me.
can keep that perfect health.
Right. You just
I
because
mean that really helps. I mean sometimes things happen, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. But I think I've appreciated more than I ever have the people I love, the things I love, and I try not to get bogged down by just dumb shit. I try not to let any of that bother me.
That's beautiful, man. So, where can people go to learn more about you? Where can they
Oh,
see this
thank you.
show? Is it going to go
Thank
all over
you.
the world? Plug
I'm
away in
hoping,
closing.
knock on wood. Yes. So I will actually be running the hour called Cancer Culture this upcoming Wednesday, April 3rd, at the Hollywood Improv in their lab, the side room. I think it's an 8:30 show. And then again in late April at the Mic Drop Comedy Club in San Diego, and then June 1st at the Rubicon Theater in Ventura. And then just my website, Jerry Rocha, ROCHA comedy.com. It's got all my links. My Instagram page, Jerry Rocha Comedy, also has the links to all my social media and stuff. And yeah, that's where you go. Yeah, thank you, dude. It's so good to see you again, dude. And thank you so much for having me, man.
You too, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank
I
you.
know every comic in LA always says this to each other, but I really, really sincerely mean it here. Let's go out to lunch soon.
Dude, yes. Where are you in? Where are you living right now?
I'm in Pedro, man, so we're nearby.
Oh, dude, let's
Yeah,
do
we're
it.
close.
Oh my God. Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. My number. Hit me up, man. Let's figure out a date maybe in the next couple of weeks. Why not?